Yes, people, what's happening? And welcome back to the Gav Goes In podcast. Guys, I'm still fuming from last night, man. Big up each and every one of you that come through yesterday. Obviously done the live watch along for the Man United and Tottenham Europa League final. Obviously Tottenham went through, Tottenham won the trophy in the end. 1-0. As I said, yeah, big up everyone for coming through. But guys, I couldn't stay, man, longer because I was just fed up, I was fuming. And first off, guys, I woke up this morning and, as you guys can see in the thumbnail, you know, Ineos must do the right thing and sack this guy, And I expected to wake up this morning and see that this guy, that the plug was pulled on his manager. Big up to everyone coming on. Big up to I Am Titanium. Big up to Barbara Joseph, Daniela Iacona, Reluctant Gamer, and to DXR. Guys, big up for coming on. So yeah, guys, we got a few things to get into. So, I woke up this morning hoping that, we would see the yellow box on the bottom screen, that Ruben Amorim has been sacked, or even better, he resigns from the club. I've heard a few reports saying that he's not going to ask for any compensation if he does want if he fills the club and the fans don't want him to be there no more. Put your money where your mouth is, then, yeah. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of fans that don't want you here, Ruben. So do your decision and just fuck off, man. To be honest, because that yesterday was nothing short of an absolute embarrassment. And guys, what I want to touch on before I get into Ruben Amorim, because and guys, I will get back to your questions, but I've got a few things to go through, And again, make sure you smash that like button, guys, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if it's your first time in it, because I've got a few things that I noted down yesterday, and again, there might be even more that I've missed out. But first things first, guys, yeah, I had to sit and watch yesterday, possibly the worst final I've ever seen Man United play. I had to watch and sit a manager, that when I look at the lineup he played, I thought, in terms of what I thought he was going to do, I was a bit surprised. But I thought, fair enough. He's gone for a team that I would have kind of picked as well. I think I wouldn't have played Luke Shaw, but even though that I knew Luke Shaw was going to play, Lenny Yoro came back in. I was happy with. Maguire was always going to play. Ahmad, Mason Mount, Rasmus Hojlund. Again, Ahmad, yes. Mason Mount. If we're looking at Mason Mount or Garnacho in the left 10, I wasn't. I think Mount or Garnacho with the options they had, fair enough. Rasmus Hojlund, which we'll get onto that guy a bit later. Because, guys, I'm not holding back on anything. Bruno and Casemiro in the midfield. Dorgu and Mazraoui is the wing-backs. And as I said, the team that he picked, was a bit similar to what I would have done. The difference what I would have done is played Mazraoui, and Lenny Yoro as the two defenders either side of Maguire. And I would have gone with a more attacking. So if you put Patrick Dorgu as a right wing-back or Am as a right wing-back and then get Kobbie on the pitch as a 10, there was plenty of things he could have done. But from what he picked, I said it's a bit more of a positive lineup than I expected, But as Titanium has said, and I said this, guys, during the watch-along, for this manager to not make a sub, which took him 70 minutes, because I said in that second half, United need to make at least 2 subs in the next 5 to 10 minutes of the second half, And for me, that's what any competent manager does. When you see things are not working, you have to make a decision. Whether it's going to upset the players or not, so be it. But as any competent manager, any competent coach, 5-10 minutes into the second half, you just make the changes, He takes 70 minutes to make a change, and I believe the first change was Joshua Zirkzee and Garnacho on for Rasmus Hojlund and for Mason Mount, Then he decides to bring on Kobbie Mainoo, who again, Kobbie Mainoo was one of the main reasons why United got through into the game against Lyon with the equaliser before Maguire scored the winner. He brings Kobbie Mainoo on for 89 minutes, yeah, and I believe it was stoppage time, the 7 minutes that Kobbie actually got. So I think when Kobbie came on, I think there was a bit of a stoppage, so he got 7 minutes. So for me, this manager, you know, and a lot of you that's been watching my channel, and big up yourselves as well, you will know my stance on this manager, which I'm going to get into with some of the stats in a bit, yeah? But that alone, bringing on Kobbie 89th minute, you know, not changing. I kept saying, you know, as bad as Rasmus Hojlund is, just go 2 up top, because you can see what Tottenham are doing. Tottenham was sitting in a mid-block to low block, you know, and especially when they brought Kevin Danso on as well, they were telling everyone they're just going to shut up shop and let United just pump balls into the box, and they were confident that they would deal with it. To think that this manager didn't even have the foresight, guys, to even change the formation because he's that stubborn, I mean, just sack him now, because that is unacceptable, you know. I don't give a shit what formation he wants to play. If you're in a final, you don't just stick with the same thing that's not working. You know, you make changes for the betterment of the team. He just stuck those players out there and just said to the players, get on with it, you know. And, you know, these are a lot of the players that a lot of fans think are not good enough, which, again, a lot of them are not good enough. But for him to just sit back there and not even make an attempt to change the formation. And again, guys, this manager is one of the most clueless managers I've seen. If you're trying to get back into a game, what's the best form of defense? Attack. So please tell me why he thinks it's a good idea to play Luke Shaw, Diogo Dalot, who are 2 fullbacks by trade, as wingbacks. We've been saying all season that United need to have wingers as the wingbacks to create more of an attacking threat. So this manager's 1-0 down, and he decides to have Luke Shaw, who again was poor and has only just come back from injury, and Dalot, who just come back from injury as well. This manager has decided to play both of these players as the wingbacks in this system, and no wingers in that position, and still have the 1 striker up top. And you're chasing the game against 3 defenders. Guys, they had 3 defenders at the end, and this manager thinks it's a good idea to have 1 striker up the top part of the pitch. You know? So, guys, listen, I'm just well and truly fed up with this club now, you know, and you know what's actually funny as well, okay? A lot of these things I actually predicted, guys. You know, big up Ange Postecoglou, big up Tottenham, because Postecoglou, you know, no one can go and chat to Postecoglou now. He said he wins a trophy in his 2nd season, and he's just proven it, yeah? And it wasn't even groundbreaking what he done. He just knew United couldn't score any goals, which I did say at the in my preview. United not going to score any goals, and if they play Rasmus Hojlund, it's going to be a massive problem, you know? So he just sat back, you know, and just focused on, you know, on the width, getting balls into the box from crosses, you know. And Ruben Amorim had 97 minutes to try and change the course of the game, and he failed. He absolutely failed. And again, I've seen some of the comments in there. Guys, again, I will get back to your comments. There's 14 of you in there at the moment. Again, smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content. But I'm not here for anyone to try and tell me that this manager deserves time. I'm not here for it. This manager is arguably the worst manager in the club's history. He is. Factually, he is. And again, I just don't understand how anyone can defend this. You know, I don't want to hear no nonsense about he hasn't got his players, you know. Again, Garnacho, I'm not Garnacho's biggest fan. You know, I think he has to go. And obviously some of the comments that have come out from what he said, he's definitely gone, and thank God for that, because he's no way good enough anyway. But to be honest with you, he had a bit of a point by saying he played in every round, and in the final, the manager chose to go with Mason Mount. Now, again, I did say it was a toss-up between Mason Mount and Garnacho for whoever starts the game. And if I'm honest with you, the manager made his decision, fair enough. But the fact that Mason Mount was that poor, you're now going to risk the wrath of someone like Garnacho saying he's played every round and then gets 20 minutes, which you can understand where he's coming from. Again, the manager made his decision and he's got to live by that. Yeah? But as I said, the whole thing's an absolute shambles. And you know what makes me laugh as well? This is what I'm going to get into. And we're going to talk about Bruno Fernandes, you know? Because, guys, I want everyone to take note of this, yeah? Because I've been saying this for years. This guy is arguably the biggest problem at the club. For some reason, this guy has been given the keys to the club, you know? I've never seen a player that average, but because he gets numbers to the detriment of the team, he just keeps getting given excuse, chance after chance after chance, you know? And I did say after the Real Sociedad game where he got a hat-trick, you know, it was against 10 men as well. I said after that game, do you know what? I can see these fans now going overboard. And I had people in my chat telling me, oh, you hate Bruno. You know, Bruno's United's best player since Cantona. You know, he's better than Pogba. He's one of the best midfielders in the world. I had all these people coming in my chat saying this, yeah? And I just said, this is a guy that has scored a hat-trick against Real Sociedad, 10 men Real Sociedad. And I remember saying, if anyone that was there, I remember saying, let's see what he does in the next 9 games, which would have been the tough games of the season and the Europa League as well. And again, guys, I watched every game and every performance was below par. But he might have got the odd couple of goals in a few of them, you know? And this is what happens, guys, because you've got people now that you've got so-called fans that think they're fans of the club, but they're not really fans of the club. They're just fans of the players that they can use in an argument against other people. This is where football's gone now, because people don't really care about the club as they say. Because if people cared about the club, you would want this manager sacked. You would want certain players gone from the club. You know, I had people tell me that Man United should never accept a bid for Bruno Fernandes. The guy's going to be 31, and if Audi are that dumb enough to want to pay that amount of money, you get rid of him instantly. Yeah? But I'm hearing people saying he shouldn't be sold for nothing less than 150. 150 for Bruno Fernandes, you know? And as I said, if you look at Man United's last running, you know, for the Europa League, Real Sociedad, 10 men. Lyon, 10 men. And they were behind. Athletic Bilbao, 10 men. They finally play a team that can match their intensity in Tottenham. No 10 men. And what happens? They get beat. So I don't want people being surprised. And as I said, Bruno Fernandes is meant to be the saviour for this club. A lot of fans have held this guy up to be the saviour, you know. The arguments with him and Pogba, who's better, Pogba or Bruno Fernandes. This fan base has chosen Bruno Fernandes. And guys, he's been to 2 finals now and has recorded 0 wins, and the performances have been shocking, you know. So this is, I think a lot of fans deserve this, if I'm honest with you. A lot of fans deserve this because a lot of the players that this fan base have been trying to protect, the likes of Bruno, the likes of Garnacho, the likes of Rasmus Hojlund, these guys are being protected. Luke Shaw. These guys are being protected. We all know why that is, you know. And all of a sudden now, people are saying they want Bruno out now. They want Garnacho gone now. Guys, where was this energy when these guys when they were doing the same thing earlier in the season? It's only now you guys are saying, oh, let's get these guys out the club now because the Europa League final's been lost. People like myself, guys, have been saying this for time. These players are not good enough. Rasmus Hojlund is the worst striker in the league. And I said Christian Romero is going to bully him. And then you've got Van der Ven's pace on the cover. I said this. So if I'm saying this and the manager can't realise this, because, you know, play a false 9. Do something different. Play a false 9, someone that is going to overpack the midfield and help Casemiro and Bruno in there. Because playing a number 9 the way he plays as a target man is not going to work. We know what Romero's going to do. Romero's going to bully him. He's going to be physical. Mickey van der Ven's very quick on the cover. These things are just basic things that Ruben Amorim couldn't get right. You know? It just couldn't get right in the end. And as I said, this manager is an absolute disgrace because for him to not see things like this, you know, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. I mean, let's talk through Rasmus Hojlund again, you know. And guys, you're gonna get bored of me saying this, but do you know what? I don't really care because I'm sick and tired of just watching this striker half the time on his arse. You know, I have never seen a player in my life as physically imposing, you might say, as him. People might say. I have never seen a player on the floor as much as this guy. It is fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what does he do right? What does he actually do right? He cost 72 million and I can't tell you his attributes, you know? I heard he was quick. I don't think he's quick. I don't. I just think he was playing in a slow league in Italy and people just ran away with the whole thing that he's quick. I don't think he's quick. He definitely ain't strong. He spends half his time on his ass. He scored 3 or 4 league goals. He ain't got no link play. He's fucking shocking, man. And the funny thing is, that header he done, I mean, it wasn't an easy chance, yeah? But I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck was that? What was that? That header? What was that header? You know? The header he had clear off the line, fair enough, you know, but that's an easier chance. But I'm just sick and tired of talking about these players. And I'm gonna mention these certain players because these are the certain players that this fan base, yeah, have protected, yeah, at the expense of others. You know, this fan base is too quick to get rid of the likes of Antony, Jadon Sancho, Paul Pogba, Fred, Eric Bailly. We all know why that is, guys. It's because of that. Like, let's just call it what it is. This fan base have played their part, yeah, in the removal of the better players. And this is what you're going to get now, guys. You're going to get a lot of these fans now trying to backtrack. Don't backtrack. You wanted to stick with these certain players, the Bruno Fernandes, the Garnachos, the Rasmus Hojlunds, the Luke Shaws, the Mason Mounts. You know, Mason Mount is number 7 at Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes is number 8 at Manchester United. Rasmus Hojlund is number 9 at Man United. You know, it's a fucking disgrace. And the funny thing is, I'm not even surprised because I knew this day was coming, guys. I knew it was coming. I've been speaking about this for years, before I had a platform. I've said there is a racial problem in this club. A racial problem. And I don't give a damn who wants to challenge me on that. Because I've been saying this for years. Man United are at their lowest that they have ever been. I've watched this club for years, you know. And there was never a problem like I'm seeing right now. There's a massive problem within this club. And the players that are the good players have been forced out. Jadon Sancho, Anthony Martial, Paul Pogba. I heard people telling me Fred. Telling me Manuel Ugarte. They got rid of Ugarte. They got rid of Fred to bring in Ugarte. Ugarte's not better than Fred. He's not. Fred's more of a goal threat. He's left-footed for the balance of the midfield as well. He presses just like Ugarte. You know, maybe in the first phase he ain't that great, but neither is Ugarte. But why did they want to force Fred out and get Ugarte in? We know why that is. This club's an absolute fucking disgrace. And I'm titanium. I'm not hearing this nonsense about Martial being injury prone. Luke Shaw's been injury prone. I'm not hearing this crap because I've been talking about this for time before I had a platform. So I'm not here for this rubbish about Martial was sold for injury. Martial was forced out of this club. He was. Just like Paul Pogba was. Just like Fred was. Just like Eric Bailly was. I don't want to hear this nonsense about injury. I'm not here for that today. Yeah, it's a load of rubbish. It's a load of rubbish. Let these other fans tell you that. But I'm not here for that. It's an absolute disgrace what's going on at this club. I had to listen to, before the game, you know, legends of this club, you know, and guys I watched growing up. Dennis Irwin, you know, Andy Cole, Dwight York, you know, guys that I used to watch back in the day, 99 winners, you know. I had to watch them tell people that Bruno Fernandes and Alejandro Garnacho are the 2 players that Man United can't do without. I mean, this is the kind of crap that you're hearing now. Bruno Fernandes and Garnacho, this fan base cannot do without. I'm hearing legends of the club talk this shit. And the funny thing is, these guys have to be on the payroll, because I've never seen two worse players being held up as guys that we need to be looking out for this club. You know, and these are legends. Dennis Irwin, Andy Cole, Dwight York. And they're talking shit like this. Like, I don't even want to hear what these guys have to say no more, because these guys have to be on the payroll. Because when I'm hearing this rubbish, it's like, this is why this fan base is in the state it is. This is why this club is in the state it is. And guys, I'm not here to talk about Ineos or to talk about the Glazers. I'm not here for that, because at the end of the day, you know, Ruben Amorim was chosen, and quite simple, he hasn't done a good job since he's come in. And I'm going to read out the stats in a minute. So I'm not here for any of this rubbish, really. You know, the season as a whole has been the worst that I can remember, you know. And again, going back to Bruno Fernandes, you know, again, it's all well and good people hyping up his stats. And again, I blame the pundits, I blame the commentators, you know, the Ali McCoys of this world, these absolute idiots that come on the screen and start hyping up Bruno Fernandes' stats. Guys, tell me his stats in a final since he's played. Please tell me. Because again, these guys are part of the problem. They're the main problem. Because what they do, you know, people that don't really watch the game, they will hang on their every word as if to say, you know, these guys are actually telling the truth. You know, the amount of times these guys big up, Robbie Savage is another one. You know, the amount of times these guys big up Bruno Fernandes, and when it really matters, the guy fails to deliver. You know, but people don't want to talk about it. Why? He's a massive problem for this club and has been for years. He's been a massive problem for years. You know, and the thing is, I don't want people saying now, Bruno out. Bruno should have been out years ago. But this fan base are too dumb to actually realise this, you know. It's an absolute disgrace. And guys, I want to get onto Andre Onana, you know, because, again, Andre Onana, if we're being serious, for a keeper that Man United are used to, the likes of Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar, even David De Gea as well, yeah? He isn't the level, you know. Do I think Andre Onana is a good keeper? I think he's a good keeper. Is he the level required to get United to winning titles? I don't think so. I don't think so. Is he a good keeper that gets United into the top 6? I think he is. I just think at the moment, you know, the club is in disarray, you know, and he has played his part. Golu says fake fan. Golu, you're here watching me, man. If you think I'm a fake fan, fuck off the channel. Like you're not wanted here, man. Mods, do your job. I'm not here for no one talking nonsense. You know, you either understand what I'm saying or you don't want to. You know, you come in there saying I'm a fake fan. I'm not a fake fan. I'm a student of football. You know, I've watched so much football in my life, and I'm just saying what I have to say. If you don't like it, then as I say, this channel maybe ain't for you. You know, but anyway, big up Sham for blocking that guy. Well done. But guys, as I said, Andre Onana for me is I think he's a good keeper. Maybe suffering from a lack of confidence at the moment. And again, has he been good this season? No, he hasn't. He hasn't been good. But guys, what I won't put up with personally, yeah, is I'm seeing people blame Onana for the goal, which again, let's face it, Onana hasn't been great, but it's another player of this that is getting blamed yet again. And this is a common theme. It's a common theme for this club. And again, I've been saying this for years. Andre Onana is a problem. Is he the problem? He's not. But the amount of fans that are, you know, criticising Andre Onana because of the goal, if you actually watch the goal, you know, it comes off Luke Shaw, I think his knee, and Onana has a split second to try and react. If we're being very critical, yeah, very, very critical, you would say Onana should have been a bit more alert. But Guys, this is ridiculous because not even Peter Schmeichel, David De Gea, Van der Sar probably would have got to that, if we're being honest. You know, you can say that Onana was probably slightly flat-footed, but if it's a deflection like that, what do you expect Onana to do? And again, Onana is just being criticised because we all know why he's getting criticised, because this fan base has a habit of criticising certain players. This is the problem. How has Man United, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world, come to a point where we're just scapegoating certain players all the time? You know, but other players get let off. Why is that? Why is that? I will never understand this nonsense. This is football. But for some reason, it's a club where it's too easy to just scapegoat certain players. And the certain players are always the same players. You know? It's a fucking joke, man. It's an absolute joke. Like, I cannot believe I've just sat there and watched a final as poor as that. And the amount of poor performances. The amount of poor performances, you know? And yeah, like it's a joke, man. I mean, what are the positives from yesterday's game? I think Lenny Yoro getting himself back. And again, Lenny Yoro is going to be a top player, you know? He is. I thought he played well. Didn't really do much wrong, you know? Mazraoui, I thought was decent. Mazraoui coming off, unless he's absolutely knackered. Again, why this man just taking him off, I will never understand. To think that Luke Shaw played 90 minutes, shocking. Like, absolutely shocking, you know. Bruno Fernandes already spoke about. And guys, listen, Ugarte we was told Ugarte was an Amorim signing. Yeah? Amorim's old player. I think Ugarte's shit, yeah? I don't rate Ugarte. But Ugarte didn't get 1 minute in the game. And I did say, you know, I thought Ugarte was going to start because that midfield of Papa Sarr, Bentancur and Bissouma is very energetic. You know, you've got someone in Bissouma who is press resistant, you know, but they're very, very energetic and they're very aggressive, yeah? So to think that he played Bruno and Casemiro in there against that three, I was surprised because Ugarte's legs would have helped to keep shape with the midfield, you know, and to help defensively as well. But again, the manager wants to shoehorn Bruno into this team, you know, and but to think that Ugarte, his old player, didn't get any minutes is surprising. Like, and I'm surprised. So where does he go from here? I don't know. But one thing's for certain is that this manager has to be sacked. I don't want to hear anyone tell me he deserves a season, you know? I keep hearing people tell me United haven't got the money to sack him. So why have they got the money for Matthias Cunha then? Like, I'm not buying this crap, really. They've got the money for Matthias Cunha, but they haven't got the money to go and sack this manager. And the manager's already come out saying he doesn't want any compensation. Yeah? So if I'm Sir Jim Ratcliffe or if I'm Ineos and I'm hearing this, sack him now. Sack him before school finishes, guys. School finishes at 3:30, yeah? Primary school. Sack him before then, before the kids get out, because this is an absolute shambles. It's an absolute disgrace. I cannot believe I've witnessed a season where United could actually finish below Tottenham in the last game of the season and no trophy to show. But people are still here making excuses for this manager. Fucking disgrace. And guys, again, look at the players that this manager has let go. Yeah? Antony and Rashford, I don't care what anyone says, those two players there are starting in this final if they're fit. They're starting in this final. Antony will be playing at wing back or as a right 10 or Ahmad right 10, Antony right wing back. Rashford starts on that left-hand side of the three in this formation. I don't care what anyone says. There is no way that those two players don't have an impact positively than the two that was more or less replacing him. Impossible. Absolutely impossible, because again, that final was poor. And, you know, there was some very poor performances, you know. Ahmad, I'm a massive fan of Ahmad. Ahmad wasn't that great tonight, you know, but I don't blame Ahmad. The guy's just come back off injury. And as I said, Ahmad's one of the players that Man United need to be building around. He's a player of genuine quality, but must be disillusioned with the state of this club. You know, Mason Mount was poor, absolutely poor. The guy wears number 7 on his back, you know, cost 60 odd million. And it's an absolute disgrace. Spent half his time out injured. You know, I feel sorry for Casemiro. I feel sorry for the guy. The guy's a born winner. 5 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid. Copa America winner with Brazil. And he comes to this shit club and has to deal with this. Not to mention as well that this was a guy that was frozen out by this manager. And this manager needed Casemiro really to save his job. That's how bad it is. Where in hindsight, he should have looked at Casemiro as one of the leaders. Why Casemiro wasn't made the captain of this team, again, is a failing on this whole club. You bring in a guy like Casemiro, along with Rafael Varane, who has won 5 Champions Leagues, an absolute leader, and you mean to tell me that Bruno Fernandes is captaining Casemiro? Like, this is laughable, but it's not actually funny. What management in their right mind, and I blame Eric Ten Hag on this as well, what management in their right mind makes Bruno Fernandes captain Casemiro? Casemiro's older than Bruno Fernandes. He's more experienced. He's won more. He's a better player than Bruno Fernandes. But yet Casemiro is being captained by Bruno Fernandes. How does that make sense? And again, this manager throws him out and all of a sudden now has to rely on Casemiro and bring him back in to save his job. You know? Absolute disgrace, this club. Disgrace. Disgrace. The only thing Ineos can do now is by saving themselves, is by getting rid of this manager. You know? Is get rid of this manager. As I said, I don't want to hear anyone make excuses for this manager because as bad as Ineos people might say, or the Glazers, they don't pick the team. They don't choose the formation. This manager has chosen to go on with this formation, and I'm sorry, he has failed. He has absolutely failed from this season. You know? He has failed. Harry Maguire, again, not much Harry Maguire could have done, really, you know? But the fact that Harry Maguire is starting games at Man United still is a concern. It's a massive concern. This manager chose to play Matthias de Ligt in a meaningful game against Brentford, really. Risked the injury when he just came back. And now you're missing de Ligt in the final against Tottenham. And I promise you now, if de Ligt plays in that final, I think Man United win. That's how good de Ligt is. But he was risked by this fucking manager again against Brentford with a guy just coming from injury, and you're missing de Ligt, your best defender. So I don't want to hear people make excuses for this manager. This manager has made criminal decision after decision, and he doesn't deserve any protecting. You know? Absolute disgrace for a manager. Absolute disgrace, you know? Who else is there? I mean, I've mentioned Kobbie Mainoo. If I'm Kobbie Mainoo right now, yeah? And again, you see how bad this manager is as well. He's made people look at Kobbie Mainoo now as shit. Because I'm watching Kobbie Mainoo now, and the hype around him when he first got into the team, I'm looking at Mainoo now thinking, I ain't too sure about Mainoo. I'm not too sure. And the funny thing is, Mainoo's a good player. Not in this system. This system's shit, this 3 at the back. It's shit. You know? Yes, Antonio Conte won 3 at the back with Chelsea. You know, Simone Inzaghi is playing a 3 at the back with Inter Milan. I get all that, yeah? And the system 3 at the back does work. You know what I mean? But for me, it isn't my preferred. I like a 4-3-3, 4-3-2-1. You know? To think that this manager was hell-bent on playing this system, yeah? So if you're hell-bent on playing the system, irrespective of the players you've got to hold the smoke at the end of the season when nothing goes right. And this is what you've chosen to play this system. And I don't want to hear the excuses about he hasn't got his own players, because you've chosen to go this way. You know? But we're looking at Kobbie Mainoo now as someone that is, you know, coming on for 1 minute in normal time when the team are playing that bad. And the funny thing is, this manager doesn't even know where to play Kobbie. He's only, I think at the moment now, he's only just realising that he's got to play Kobbie high up the pitch. Kobbie should have been playing there from time ago, you know? And if Kobbie plays in a 4-3-3 as one of the left central midfielders, or in a 4-2-3-1, you know, one of the central midfielders behind the 10, or even in the 10, you'll get a better Kobbie Mainoo. But to play Kobbie Mainoo, you know, where he's been playing him as a 6 or an 8 in this system, that position there requires leadership. It requires energy, mobility, defensive nous. All the things that Kobbie hasn't got because he's not that kind of player. But this manager chooses to stick with playing Kobbie in that position. And as I said, bringing him on for 1 minute, yeah? If I'm Kobbie, yeah, and somehow this manager survives, I'm looking at my career thinking, what is the point? What is the point? You know? And as I said, I think Kobbie's a good player. But if I'm Kobbie Mainoo, man, I'm really looking at my career thinking, where am I actually going? Because I never thought I never thought this would happen. Because to be fair, he's been hung out to dry by this manager, really. And you can clearly see the manager don't really rate him. Even though, you know, he might come out and say he does. But he doesn't rate Kobbie Mainoo. He can't do. Absolute disgrace, man. Absolute disgrace. And, yeah, as I said, guys, absolute joke. Listen, big up to Spurs, man. Spurs deserved it. The way Ange set up, man, mid-block to low block, especially when he brought on Kevin Danso. The Kevin Danso substitution was key for me because he brought that, and because at first I thought he was going to bring Danso on to play Danso right back to deal with Garnacho because Garnacho coming on was fresh. You know, Pedro Porro was having not a tough time, but he's playing up against a guy that's fresh. And I thought he brought Danso on to go right back and then push Pedro Porro higher up the pitch and just play as a right midfielder rather than a winger. To think that he put three at the back to go Danso, Van der Ven and Christian Romero and play Porro and Udogie as the wing-backs, how the manager never reacted to that is an absolute disgrace in itself. Because he's letting you know he's going to go defensive. What's the best way to break down a defence? Go attacking. What does he do? He brings on Dalot and goes Dalot and Luke Shaw as the wing-backs. It doesn't make any sense, guys. Guys, if I'm going mad, please tell me because I just don't understand the thinking of this manager. Postecoglou is telling you that he's going to go through at the back. Yeah? And you're still playing with one striker. It's a cup final. It's not a league game. It's a cup final. Change something. The manager is incapable of doing that. Tell me why. Tell me why. Because I just don't understand. And guys, I'm sick and tired of people telling me Victor Gyokeres. Victor Gyokeres. Victor Gyokeres. Victor Gyokeres is not the player for Man United in my opinion. I don't want to hear nothing about he scores goals. You're not going to score goals if you're not creating chances. Simple. Rasmus Hojlund is shit. But the thing is, Rasmus Hojlund doesn't get many chances created for him. People tell me about Victor Gyokeres. Because Victor Gyokeres ain't the answer. He's not. And again, I don't want no player being brought in for this manager because he has to go. He has to go. You know? Man United need to be making club signings, not signings for the managers. This crap needs to stop now. You know? I'm hearing people today tell me about Gyokeres. I don't care about Gyokeres. He's shit. He's playing in the Portuguese league. Yeah? Yeah, he might be scoring goals, but it's the Portuguese league. This manager come from the Portuguese league. So again, I don't want to be hearing about Gyokeres. I'm tired of it. Man United need to go and buy footballers. Too many players from this club who are footballers keep getting forced out of this club. It's an embarrassment. And you're left with a front line of Rasmus Hojlund, Garnacho, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes. Because this fan base wanted this so badly. You know? I'm hearing people tell me they don't want Sancho back. I don't want to hear that. You know? If Chelsea don't want Sancho and they want to pay the 5 million release clause, I don't want to hear no fan tell me they don't want Sancho back. Yeah? Because players like Sancho who have pure quality, you know, these are the kind of players that need to be in this first team. People look at Sancho as someone that doesn't take on players. Because he's not a head-down run merchant, people ain't got no respect for a player that he is. He's someone that wants to keep the ball. So my thing is, I don't even want to be hearing people tell me about Sancho, about he's burnt bridges with the club. Fuck all that. Fuck all that. At the end of the day, you know, his comments he said, you know, I don't even blame him for saying them comments. Freedom, what he said about Marcus Rashford. I agree with him. I agree with him. You know, I don't want to hear no one tell me about Sancho not coming back. If Chelsea don't activate the 25 million and he comes back and he wants to stay, you build a team around players like this with real quality. Antony, you know, Antony's on a lot of money, 200 grand a week, 80 million pound he cost. Would I bring Antony back? I would give him a chance, I would. You know, Marcus Rashford, you know, if you can get money for Rashford, fair enough, let him go. You know, but I don't want to hear people tell me about not bringing Sancho back, not bringing Antony back, when we have to deal with the players like Garnacho and Rasmus Hojlund. Like, some of these fans are clueless, man, honestly. Absolutely clueless. So I don't really want to be hearing that, you know. And again, Matthias Cunha looks like he's on his way. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really care about that, if I'm honest, at the moment. Because like, nothing's going to make me forget about this final. That was arguably one of the worst games. And the thing is, I done a live watch-along, guys. And, you know, normally I like watching the game on my own, just taking it in. And I found myself at times bored watching this game because there just was nothing going on. Tottenham were just sitting in. They got the goal. And at not one point did United ever press the button to go, you know what I mean? Let's put some pressure on Tottenham. Let's get some more attacking players on. And guys, Joshua Zirkzee, yeah? Let me tell you this now. When Joshua Zirkzee was getting taken off the pitch, yeah, and a lot of these fans were celebrating, you know, a lot of these fans now, you have things to answer for, yeah? Because this fan base was desperate to put Rasmus Hojlund ahead of Joshua Zirkzee. You are now seeing, guys, yeah, how much better Joshua Zirkzee is than Rasmus Hojlund. Because Zirkzee coming on that pitch, you can just see the quality he offered. You know, the first touch, the ball went into him. The way he laid it off for the chance, that I think, was it Ahmad that crossed it in or someone that crossed it in for the Hojlund header? No, Hojlund header, for a chance. I can't remember who it was. That was Joshua Zirkzee's first time pass. Oh, for Bruno Fernandes' header. Yeah? Zirkzee's quality on the ball, you know, cannot be questioned. So a lot of these fans that were desperate for Rasmus Hojlund to be in the team ahead of Joshua Zirkzee, you now have questions to answer. You know, because again, it's another player that has quality, but because on the eye he's perceived to be lazy from a lot of these fans, they wanted Hojlund because Hojlund runs around. The thinking of this fan base is backwards. They like players that are just athletes and nothing more. You know, all the football players get forced out of this club. You know, but this shit has to stop now, guys, for the betterment of the team. Because United are in the lowest, they're in the lowest phase they've ever been in. You know what I mean? To think that I'm watching United 16th in the league, no trophy, you know, and this man just recorded so many negative, yeah, it's ridiculous, guys. And I'm going to actually go through them now, actually, because these are a few of them. So, guys, make sure you're taking note of this. These are a few of them. So, Ruben Amorim, since he's come, 6 wins, 6 draws, 13 defeats from 25 games. 24 points in 25 Premier League games. Guys, I'll say that again. 24 points in 25 Premier League games. That is relegation. Relegation. And again, I don't want people telling me now the league didn't matter. Because you were only saying that, yeah, when the Europa League was still there to be won. Now they've lost the Europa League, we're going to go straight back to the Premier League. Because it makes it even worse for Amorim now. 24 points in 25 Premier League games. which is 0.96 points per game. It's not even a point a game, guys. This is the records this guy is breaking. Negative records he's breaking at Man United. Lowest points tally ever. They're on 39 points. I think the lowest they've ever got, I think, might be 59. They're on 39. They might not even make the 40-point barrier. Because that game against Aston Villa have something to play for. Champions League places. So they'll be going all out. United, obviously, the confidence going into this game is going to be low. So you'd think they're not going to make 40 points. Lost the last 6 league games. They've gained... the last 6 league games, they've gained 1 point. 1 point from the last 6 league games. Ruben Amorim, yeah? 9 defeats at Old Trafford this season. I think that might be... that's the joint most number of... that's the joint most number of defeats since 1962. 2 months without a league win. 1 win in 17 Premier League, which is 1 win in the calendar year. I can't believe I'm actually reading this. United have failed to score in 14 Premier League games. 14 Premier League games. Can you believe that? 14 Premier League games they've failed to score. And that's all under this system, guys, by the way. This 3-4-2-1 nonsense that he's playing. They failed to score in 10 of the 25 games. Conceded most goals since Ferguson's management. So they've conceded more than 1.6 goals a game, which is 1.64. Won 2 of 18 games against top half opposition. Ruben Amorim. 7 losses to a bottom half team out of 18 matches. Joint second fewest points from Big 6 matches after 25 games. 24% win percentage. 24% win percentage for Ruben Amorim. Conceded 41 goals. And in comparison, Tottenham and the relegated sides, Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich have only conceded more. Amorim's team concede most goals per game. Guys, I'll say that again. Amorim's team concede most goals per game. So that's even worse than the 3 teams that have been relegated. So Amorim's team have conceded most goals per game. Fewest games to reach 10 defeats. Yeah? And in comparison, it took Erik ten Hag, who was an absolute disgrace, 56 games to reach 10 defeats. It's taken this manager 24 games to reach 10 defeats. Worse record than Gary Neville. Gary Neville, who's in the studio now because he failed as a manager. Amorim has a worse record than him. He's also got a worse record than Paul Jules Derby. Guys, and that's only some of them that I've written down. So, anyone that wants to tell me why this manager should stay, put it in the chat and we're going to discuss that. But guys, big up yourselves, everyone. As I said, there's 16 of you in there right now. Big up yourselves. 14 likes. Let's try and hit 15 likes a minimum. If you've enjoyed the content, as I said, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if it's your first time in there. And guys, I'm going to go through some of your questions from the beginning, you know. So it could be a little while, but we'll try and go through all of them. Yeah, Titanium says he should do the right thing and walk away. As I said, there's no question he shouldn't. If he's got anything about himself, which I don't think he has, yeah, he should just walk. He said that he hasn't got any, that he doesn't want no compensation. Well, prove it. Walk right now then. Or Ineos, as I said in the title, do what's right. Do what's right and sack this guy. As I said, you've got until 3:30, man, before the kids come out. Sack this guy. Barry Bajanev says, sack him again. Right, sack him and then what? With another manager. 5th in how many years? Get a tune, and I'm in a Champions League tune out of this current set of players. So again, it's a bit confusing what Barry's saying, but Barry says sack him and then what? With another manager. Listen, Barry, yeah? If you're still in the chat, Barry, the manager's 16th in the league. I've just read out the stats to you. Yeah? He just lost in a Europa League final. Yeah? Where his substitutions were a joke. His in-game management was even worse. And you're telling me and do what with another manager? Again, I'm all for your opinions, but don't come in there talking nonsense, man. This manager has to go. I'm not sure what nonsense that's been telling you that this manager needs to stay, because he doesn't. He needs to be sacked. He needs to be sacked. Because I'm telling you this now, any competent manager is not 16th with this team. It's impossible. Yeah? FFP means we can barely change the current squad, so it will be more of the same, unfortunately. I can recommend turning off the TV until you see the headline. Man United's new owners. Listen, I don't want to be hearing about the new owners, because when they beat when United beat Real Sociedad and they beat Leon and Athletic Bilbao, where was this crap about the owners? I don't want to hear this rubbish. Unless you've got chat for the owners throughout, I don't want to do it when it suits you now. I'm not here for that. At the end of the day, this manager has failed with what he's been brought in to do, and he needs to go. I understand FFP, but again, if there's money for Cunha, there's money to sack this manager. So I don't want to be hearing that rubbish. At the end of the day, if Ineos have anything about themselves, they'll sack him, regardless. As Titanium says, no sub until the 70th minute. Exactly. I said during the game, he needs to make subs within the next 5 or 10 minutes of the second half, if nothing's going right. You know, you've seen top managers do this. He took until the 70th minute to make changes, which obviously is going to say that he's happy with what's going on. Again, what's he watching? So FN Footy HD says we aren't changing managers again. What are you saying that for definite, or is that your opinion? Because again, and guys, listen. I've just FN Footy HD says it took Sir Alex 4 years to win his first trophy. Listen, I don't give a shit if it took Alex 10 years to win his first trophy. What I've seen this season is the worst that I've seen. Amorim's not going to be a Sir Alex Ferguson. It's impossible. The way football was back then is not the way football is now. So stop telling me about Ferguson. It took Ferguson 4 years. I don't care about that. Amorim has performed worse. Yeah, he's performed worse. Let's stop this revisionism for Ruben Amorim. The facts are, from what I've read out, he's broken all the negative records. So stop this rubbish about it took Sir Alex 4 years. What does that mean? Big up to CD. OV Elliott says, sack him and then what? You're clueless. Well, OV, if you're still in the chat, okay, tell me why I'm clueless. Yeah? If you're still in the chat, tell me why I'm clueless. Because if you don't want him to be sacked, you're part of the problem. Fans like you are part of the problem. You got no standards because you accept this shit. That's the problem. This is why Man United are in the state they are. You know, you're saying sack him and then what? What, get a better manager, basically. Get a manager that can do the job. You know, fans like you are part of the problem because, you know, you're just going to deal with shit. You know, it's nonsense. The manager has failed. It's as simple as that. So Tyson says, not clueless. We would have been relegated if it wasn't for the 3 championship teams. Bro, listen, tell them. Because I don't think people are actually deep in this, you know. If it wasn't for, I can't even, I'm actually saying this, Eric Ten Hag's start to the season and the 3 championship teams being that bad, United would have got relegated, going by the facts. But yet you got people like OV Elliott and then FN saying sack him and then what? Guys, I implore you guys to have your own mind and not listen to some of these other channels that are telling you nonsense. because they're part of the problem as well. You know, if you want this manager to stay in post, as I said, you're part of the problem, and you don't really care about the club. Really, you just care about what's best for your interests. To have arguments against other people with. I'm not here for that. You know, big up to Broderick. So Naz Angel says, such a shame to just call out the manager. Why is it a shame? Why is it a shame? If you want me to start going on about Ineos and the Glazers, we all know Ineos and the Glazers have been a massive problem. We all know that. But there's nothing that you or I can do about that, you know? And I'll go one step further. Were you the same people that were complaining about Ineos when United got over the line against Real Sociedad, Athletic Bilbao, and Lyon? You weren't. You were too busy celebrating. I can guarantee that. So now, because United have lost, we're going back onto the Glazers and to Ineos. Nah, I'm not about that. I'm not going to do that. You know, we know that they're a massive problem. You know, but unfortunately, unless any fans have got some serious money to get these guys out the club, it's all just nonsense, really. Let's focus on the manager and what he's doing with the team. And the conversation is, he ain't doing a very good job. So at the end of the day, let's just focus on that. You know? As Broderick says, how are we not rioting after finishing 16th is beyond me. And the answer for that, Broderick, yeah, and big up yourself as well, the answer for that is because this fan base, they ain't got nothing about themselves to be doing that. That's the honest truth. You look at other countries. You look at the likes of in France, in Italy, in Spain. These clubs wouldn't be putting up with this, but this club does, because unfortunately, this fan base just chats. They just talk a lot. They're not really going to do anything, you know, because they're saying they're going to do protests after the game against Aston Villa. I'm telling you now, the Glazers and Ineos are going to laugh, because these protests ain't doing anything. If you really want to make change, you do what's necessary, because these other clubs in other countries, they don't part with this nonsense. That's the truth. That is the absolute truth. 16th place for Man United, and fans are still making excuses. You know, if you want Ineos out, or if you want the Glazers out, that means you also want Amorim out as well, because the Glazers got Ineos in and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and then Ineos with Omar Barada got in Amorim. So they're all connected. So if you want all them out, but you want Amorim to stay, doesn't make any sense. You know. So Samakade says playing Shaw and Casemiro for 90 minutes is sackable. Well, it's not sackable for playing Casemiro 90 minutes, because Casemiro is arguably the reason why United got to this final in the first place. Because if it wasn't for his assist to Maguire for the winner against Lyon, and the fact that he won the penalty as well, United would have already been out. To play Luke Shaw for 90 minutes is an absolute joke, because again, you want to play attackers at wing back if you're trying to chase the game. He should have been doing that anyway. And to play two fullbacks by trade at wing backs and think you're going to get back into the game, that's what's sackable, you know? Madness. Samakar says, Amorim is too stubborn. He said after the game, he is not changing the way he plays, even though he is failing. It's delusion. Yeah, listen, it's either delusion or stupidity, you know? Because there's one thing having your formation and your style of play. There's another thing that you're just going to be just absolutely stubborn and not change things. And as I said, this manager only has himself to blame, you know? So, again, Ineos just need to just do what's right, man. I'm not here for anything other than sacking this manager. Absolute disgrace of a season. And he's played his part in that. Desire LeBon has said, sack him, then what? Bring Southgate, Potter. When will these people understand that Ruben Amorim 3-4-3 will not work until Onana, Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Eriksson, Casemiro, Mount, Evans, Rasmus in the team? Right, let me break this down, yeah? Because again, I'm having to question some of these people with this crap, yeah? So sack him, then what? bring in Southgate, Potter. First thing I'll tell you here, Desiree, yeah, is that do I want Gareth Southgate? No. Do I want Graham Potter? No. Is there other managers out there that will do a better job than Ruben Amorim? There is. Yeah? Thomas Frank is one, for example. Andoni Iraola is another. There's other managers in the league that I will take over Ruben Amorim. First and foremost, I want a manager that's going to play better football, which means just playing the technicians and better players. So to say then sack him and then what? I'm giving you names that I will take in a heartbeat over this manager. When will these people understand that Ruben Amorim plays a 3-4-3? That the 3-4-3 will not work. Let me tell you this now, Desiree as well. And this is a bit of education. If you think United are playing a 3-4-3, then I feel sorry for you. And I'll tell you why. Yeah? Because if you're playing with 2 number 10s, it's not a 3-4-3. That's the first bit of education for you. It's not a 3-4-3. A 3-4-3 is when you have wingers in that position as the wide players or inside forwards. Yeah, where you're playing with a false 9. If you're playing with a number 9 striker like an Erling Haaland, you want to have wingers that will supply, or you want to have inside forwards that will create. Yeah. This system right now is a 3-4-2-1 because it's 2 number 10s and then a striker. The number 10 position is a creator's position, which is why when you're playing profiles like Alejandro Garnacho as a 10, when he's a winger and his attributes are more suited to being a wing back, this is the problem. Because you're saying he's playing a 3-4-3. It's not a 3-4-3. It's a 3-4-2-1 because the 2 players playing behind the striker are number 10s. If you're playing a 3-4-3, as I said, you're playing with wide forwards or you're playing with wingers in that system. And that's the system that I want to play, a 4-3-3 or a 4-3-2-1, not a 3-4-3. So he's playing a 3-4-2-1. Again, you're saying Onana, Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Eriksen, Casemiro, Mount, Evans, Rasmus, yeah? Let's go through the names. Rasmus is shit, so I don't rate him, so he's a non-starter. Johnny Evans is experienced but hardly plays. Mason Mount is not good enough. Casemiro is, but not in his 3-4-2-1, you know, where there's so many gaps. Eriksen is a number 10 in his system, hasn't been playing. Lindelof is not good enough, will go at the end of the season. Maguire has come in and done well. Luke Shaw's injury prone and isn't good enough now. Onana is a question mark over him. Yeah? So again, with the players you've mentioned, I would throw in more players there. But the main thing is, Desiree, this isn't a 3-4-3 system. And my point to you is as well, if this manager knows it's not working in his system, there's a saying, if you keep doing the same thing, you get the same results. And this is what he's been doing. Yeah? He's been failing and hasn't even attempted to change anything. That's his biggest problem. And until he does that, he's only got himself to blame. And this is why he has to go. Yeah? But it's important that it's in a 3-4-3 system. Samakazi says, Amorim plays Shaw left back. Amorim has to change the system to suit the players until he gets his own players in. Can't just keep losing games like he has. I agree. What I would say, if this is the system that Amorim wants to play, which again isn't my preferred system, all that we can ask for is that he plays the right players in the right positions. I've been over this so many times. He's playing Kobbie Mainoo in the 6, where he shouldn't be playing in this system. He's playing Garnacho in the 10, where he shouldn't be playing in this system. Bruno has played in the 10, where he shouldn't be playing in this system. Who else is there? You know, Ahmad, we're having to see Ahmad play at wing back because of this system. I think other Dallo in this system is a right-sided centre back, not a wing back. You know, there's so many things this man just done wrong. You can't defend it. You know, it's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. So Jordan Glaspool, personal training, says, I've not seen you before. Give Amorim a break and don't burn the young players. So, Jordan, what I would say to you, and if you're still in the chat, what I would say to you is that you're getting this nonsense from other people about give Amorim a break and don't burn the young players. Like, what's this nonsense? What do you mean don't burn the young players? This is Manchester United. If you're good enough, you'll be in that first team. Unfortunately, this fan base wants to force in players that are not good enough. Like, it's not about burning the young players. It's if you're good enough, you play. It's always been that. Doesn't matter how young you are. If you're good enough, you'll play. This is men's football. Men's football. It's not school football. It's men's football. And you're saying give Amorim a break. Have you seen where United are in the league? Have you seen the season as a whole? Like, until you've seen that, I don't want to hear this, really. So Broderick says, listen, Broderick, spot on. We've gotten rid of the problem players and we've been sliding down the table. It's not a coincidence. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the players that this fan base wants to scapegoat, you know, this is what you're getting. And again, I'm not a big fan of Marcus Rashford. You know, I think Marcus Rashford needed to have gone a couple of seasons ago. But to think that Rashford's been forced out this club and this manager wants to keep Garnacho and Hojlund, I'm sorry, but this manager deserves everything he gets now because that is unforgivable. You've got rid of Antony and Rashford, not replaced them, and Malacia as well. Who did? Malacia's another one. This fan base wanted to scapegoat Malacia, but yet give Luke Shaw chance after chance. Guys, you can't tell me it's not about certain things because I know it is. And I've been saying this for years. It's a disgrace. Shane Preston says, platform 19 viewers. Yeah, big up, Shane. You're a hater, man. But keep coming on and supporting, man. Big up yourself. It's guys like this, man, that ain't got a life, man. You know what I mean? Hating on other people. It says a lot about their life, you know what I mean? But big up, Shane, man. Keep coming through, man. Keep viewing, man. I appreciate it. So Jordan says, why spread lies, man? Don't know what you're talking about. But again, man, unless you're going to contribute to the channel, man, you're not forced to be here. Big up all the mods each and every time. Yep. We sold good players and replaced them with crap. There you go. There you go. To think that Man United, as I said again, have a strike force of Rasmus Hojlund and Garnacho that it contains them too. And again, the numbers, guys. Iconic numbers. 7, 8, 9, and 10. They're in the hands of Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Rasmus Hojlund, Marcus Rashford. This is what the club wanted to build around. And this is what you get, unfortunately. You know, I can't feel sorry for Man United. You know, I can't feel sorry for Man United and the fan base because they wanted this. You know, they wanted this. And this is what happens. Jordan, man, listen. If you're not going to contribute, man, you're not saying nothing. I suggest you go and watch the other channels, man, that are going to give you what you want because you're coming up with generic stuff and just chatting shit, man. So, whatever, you know. Big up to Luke Hamilton, says, I'm so annoyed right now. I'm selling everyone except Euro Garnat. Yeah, you've lost me on the Garnacho one, man. Garnacho, mine with Heaven, Mazraoui. Bruno has to go. He was absolutely dreadful last night from start to finish. Yeah, big up Luke for coming on, man. But you lost me with Garnacho. When you're saying Garnacho has to stay, this is part of the problem. And I think you're basically doing it based on his age. I don't care about age. At the end of the day, he ain't good enough. So big up for your chat, but I'm not here for anyone that wants to keep Garnacho because I've been saying the problem players that need to go. And, you know. And again, guys, I want to touch on Bruno Fernandes. His attitude stinks. His attitude stinks. A lot of people think he's a role model, you know. The amount of times this guy, and he does it every game, yeah. Whenever Bruno misplaces a pass or he loses the ball, gets pressed, he looks at blaming other players. that is a sign of someone that doesn't believe in themselves. Because I've never seen a player as much as him. Every game he does it, if he misplaces a pass or gets tackled, it's someone else's fault. And he's the captain. And people think that's a captain. He's not. He's selfish and he thinks about himself. That's no leader for me. Joke. Sham says, there's a Sky Sports poll of Amorim deserves more time. 61% have voted yes. The project has only just started. Yeah, but listen, these people are losers. They're absolute losers. Like, if you think Ruben Amorim deserves more time, you're a loser. That can only be the answer. That can only be the answer. There's no way he should be staying at this club. No way. You know? But unfortunately, man, this is where the fan base is. They got no standards at the end of the day. So Luke says, who are you bringing in? Thomas Frank, Andoni Iraola. What other managers are in the league? I'll still go and get a De Zerbi, you know. I mean, my dream's Zidane, but Zidane ain't coming into this shit show. Yeah, put it this way. Just get me any competent manager that wants to, more importantly, play good football and play more technical players. This team that Amorim wants to play is heavily reliant on athletes. And athletes ain't getting you nowhere. They're not getting you nowhere, you know. You think Barcelona just solely focus on athletes? No. They have a philosophy of playing football players. So this is what it is. So if Ancelotti was going to... Listen, Ancelotti I'll take in a heartbeat, but he's going to Brazil. But again, managers of that ilk, you know. Ancelotti, 100%. But he ain't coming, he's going to Brazil. So Casemiro is unbelievable. How is he not in the Champions League? He's good enough. Listen, there's a lot of fans that want to scapegoat Casemiro, you know, and I guarantee this now. Casemiro under a better manager, you get more out of him, you know. In a different system, you get more out of him. The way that Ten Hag and Amorim have been asking this guy to play is criminal. It's absolutely criminal, you know. And I feel sorry for him. The guy's an absolute winner, and he's come to this club. And he must be looking around thinking, what the hell is this? It's embarrassing. But, yeah, man. Sham, I agree. Spurs only had one shot on target. The focus shouldn't be on your keeper or defence. It should be on the attackers. But guess what? Guess what? It's gonna be on Onana. And again, let's get something clear. I am not Onana's biggest fan. I think Onana's a good keeper, and I do think that, you know, under a more consistent team, a team that's on the front foot, playing better football, you might get more out of Onana. I know people would say that you know, he has made a lot of mistakes, but he's always going to be the scapegoat. It's obvious what's going on here. He's the obvious scapegoat because these fans don't want to blame Luke Shaw. They don't want to blame Harry Maguire. They don't want to blame Bruno Fernandes, Garnacho, Rasmus Hojlund. They want to blame Onana, just like they blame Fred. Just like they blame Pogba, Martial. Trust me, if you notice the pattern, I'm aware of the pattern. And I ain't going to have no one tell me otherwise because I've been onto this for time. And it's about time things like this get said. You know, so Onana's going to be the scapegoat. We know what's going on here. As Michael Owen would say, you can't win if you don't score a goal. Yeah, another poor pundit, but stating the obvious. You know what I mean? Big up to Long Live Warrior. Ruben didn't even bother to do his homework and look at what Ten Hag did. Yeah, which wasn't much really, let's be honest. Yeah, big up the XR. Yeah, listen, I agree. Bruno Fernandes, that's meant to be a captain. He ain't my captain. Like, that's a guy. And again, I don't understand why this guy has been given the keys to Old Trafford. He is allowed to do whatever he wants, and there's no repercussions. You know, I'm seeing people doing talk for his numbers, and this is what I'm trying to say to you. People are not watching the game because they just see his numbers and think, yep, he's a good player. He's been Man United's best player. You know, and again, a lot of these pundits and these commentators, they're a massive part of the problem because they're doing all this nonsense to try and fool people to thinking that, you know, these players are doing a lot more than they are. Ridiculous. Yeah, big up Spurs, man. Deserved it. No question. So yeah, Spurs are missing Maddison and Kulusevski. They're two creators, and look at what Ange did. And you know what? Big up Postecoglou as well, because who would have thought Postecoglou would have played the way he played? You know, that's what you call someone doing their homework. Because he's looked at United and thought, right, we beat them 3 times. And guys, another stat I think as well. I think Amorim's broken the record for a team to beat his team 4 times in one season. Another record for Ruben Amorim. Shocking. But the way Postecoglou set up, he knew United didn't have too much to do in terms of attacking wise, and he just shut up shop, and United couldn't break them down, which is, yeah, big up to him, man. Big up to Corey W. Yeah, big up, man. Listen, Gyokeres, I don't want Gyokeres, man. And again, when I see the people that want Gyokeres, it tells me all that I need to know, because these are the same fans, you know, that think Garnacho's good, that think Bruno's good, you know, that think Luke Shaw's good, and now they're seeing that these players are not the level. They're now backtracking. So again, I don't want Gyokeres coming in. I don't give a damn if Amorim wants him, because he shouldn't be here. So this whole Gyokeres thing, yeah, let's just leave that, man. Sam McCarthy says Rashford to score a screamer next week to rub it in. Rashford's injured, man. He can't play. I think he's out to the end of the season, and even that, I don't think he can play against United anyway. So that ain't gonna happen. NK99908 says Sancho should play for PSG. Listen, he'd fit into that PSG team, but what I would say is that they've got quite a few players that are wide players. You know, they got Desiree Doué, who they might look at as kind of like a Sancho. So I don't see that happening. Obviously, Dembele is a wide player, whether he continues playing through the middle. Kvaratskhelia as well, you know. So they've got players that can do a similar thing to Sancho. So PSG won't sign him. But as I said, I want him back at United. You know, give him the 7. Let him know that they made a massive mistake, you know, and United can really go forward and look at the future, man. Antony looks like he's matured and discovered some confidence at Betis. The thing is, Antony hasn't matured. He's just got confidence. That's what it is. You know, he's playing for a manager that is getting the best out of him in terms of the way that Antony likes to play. And again, he's playing with better football players. When you're playing with someone like Isco, you can't fail not to be better, because Isco's a top player, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think Antony's matured. I just think that he's just got confidence that this club weren't giving him. Because again, this club were too busy trying to put Garnacho ahead of him. That's what's happened. And now you're seeing what's happened. So United have a team that are not 16th. You know, we can say that there's a lot of players here that are not good enough, but there's no way that this team should be 16th. That is the problem. And Van Nistelrooy, if he was in charge, wouldn't have this team 16th. As bad as Erik ten Hag was, wouldn't have this team 16th. That's the problem. Big up to Adil Aram. So the spotlight says, boss, don't talk about sacking Amorim. How many months has he spent in the team? Man United has a fundamental problem which requires a strong coach in the caliber of Amorim to navigate. Again, big up for your opinion, but you're talking shit. Amorim's had 41 games at Man United. 41 games. Yeah? I don't want to hear about how many months he has spent at the team. He's had 41 games. He's amassed 6 wins, I think 13 losses in the league, and 6 draws. Yeah? I don't want to hear about in these months. Yeah? Stop making excuses. Yeah? And think of solutions. You know what I mean? You're saying it requires a strong coach. Amorim's not a strong coach. He's not. I've already been through the nonsense that he's done this season. So, yeah, that's what I've got to say about that. So, Daniela says, Garnacho was amazing as soon as he came on. Same with Ahmad. It would have been 3-1 to Man United for real. Big up, Daniela, for your comment. Garnacho wasn't amazing when he came on. What he did, he just came on with a bit of energy and got one shot off. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call that amazing. I just think that he came onto the pitch and he was just a bit more livelier than what Mason Mount was. But he's another player that needs to be moved on because he's not good enough. And again, Ahmad is a very good player. You won't catch me criticizing Ahmad because I rate Ahmad highly, but it wasn't one of Ahmad's best games. But I can't really blame him, because to see what he's playing with around him must be frustrating. So, yeah, but the Garnacho one, yeah, he wasn't great when he came on. He was just he just had a bit more energy and got a shot off more than what Mason Mount was doing. But big up for your message anyway. Yep, Sham, only 9 points since Christmas. Sack him just for that alone. Yeah, sack him for that alone. So CHD Warrior _ John says Johnson's goal should have been offside. All right, mate. Yeah, I don't know what you're. Yeah, all right. I'm guessing. Are you a Man United fan? Because if you are, I don't want to hear excuses. So Farhad Ahmed says Amorim got the subs wrong, but let's be real. Tottenham got mad lucky as well. They were not the overall better team. I disagree. And in the day, the way Postecoglou set up, he invited United to have the ball because he was very happy defending. And as I said, that defense that they've got there was solid. And then when they brought on Kevin Danso, that was a signal to Amorim to bring on more attackers because they were going defensive. So Tottenham didn't get lucky. Man United just didn't have any answers to break them down. You can say the goal that was cleared off the line, the Luke Shaw save, but in isolation, United didn't deserve to get anything at the game. It was a poor final, and United didn't do nowhere near enough to win the game. And again, Tottenham were very comfortable at the back. So yeah, Man United weren't an overall better team. Tottenham allowed them to have the ball. They allowed them to have the ball because they didn't see any threat that the attackers was going to pose. That's the difference. And as Long Live Mech Warrior says, he is arrogant for not wanting to change. That's why I should sack him. So Samakazi says playing Garnacho for 19 minutes is insane. The thing is, it's not insane because Garnacho realistically shouldn't be playing anyway. But if it was between him and Mount, based on the fact how poor Mount was, he probably should have got more game time. Only because Mount was poor. But let's not get confused. Garnacho ain't good enough. So I don't want to be hearing all this revisionism for Garnacho because he ain't good enough. It's as simple as that. Guys, make sure we smash the like button if you haven't done so already. And again, make sure you subscribe to my channel at GavGoesIn. To go through a few more of the comments. I'm going to be back at 3:30, guys, as well. So Liverpool brought a new striker. Who's that then? I haven't said nothing there. Nkunku would bang at United. Listen, Makim, don't try and offload your players to us. I do think Nkunku on his day is a good player, but from what I've seen of him at Chelsea, I wouldn't have Nkunku there, man. But what's happened to him is mad, put it that way. But I get it, man. You're trying to offload your players to us, but we're cool, man. So the club will never be the same unless the owners change. The toxicness starts at the top and makes its way down to the staff and fan base. We chant Glazers out every game. How negative we are. How negative we are as a club. Yeah, but again, yeah, all this chanting Glazers out every game. What is that doing? That's nonsense. Like as I said, that's just doing something for something's sake. You can chant Glazers. Chanting Glazers out ain't got them at the club, so that shouldn't be looked at as something positive. You know, we know that the Glazers, you know, are a massive problem, but unfortunately, there's nothing that's going to be done to get them out. Unfortunately, unless as I say, some billion like the guys, the chance for Qatar was there. You know, whether the Glazers were going to sell up anyway remains to be seen, which is unlikely. But getting them out is not impossible, but it's almost as close to that. But let's just focus on the pitch, because the Glazers don't tell Amorim to play 3 at the back. The Glazers don't tell him to play Kobbie Mainoo as a 6 or an 8. The Glazers don't tell him to continue playing Rasmus Hojlund up front. The Glazers don't tell him to not take off Bruno Fernandes. The Glazers don't tell him to keep playing Garnacho. The Glazers don't tell him to, you know, not make changes at the 70th minute. So all this stuff about the Glazers and that, I'm not really here for that, man. End of the day, the manager has failed, as I said. Yep, Xavi Hugh, I do want him sacked, 100%. Yeah, listen, I forgot about that. Chelsea are actually in the Tottenham are actually in the Champions League next season. Madness, you know. Team that is 17th at the moment, we're in the Champions League. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. But, yeah, you got to respect them. So Long Live Mech Warrior says, how bad do you think the finances are for next season? To be honest with you, I'm not too sure. But from what I've heard, it ain't great, put it that way. But if Man United can afford to get Cunha in, I know they're playing slightly more over installments, which is a good idea. But my main focus is getting rid of this manager. That's the main focus. And then getting rid of some of these players. For me, Garnacho and Hojlund are the first 2 that need to be out the door. And then if Saudi come in, if Saudi are dumb enough to keep offering a bid to offer something for Bruno, I don't want to hear no one say anything. Even if they come in with a lesser bid. If they come in with 80 million, take that bid and run. Reinvest in the team, because the guy's going to be 31 next season and he's part of the problem at this club. So, again, I don't want to hear anyone tell me that Bruno Fernandes shouldn't be moved on. So Makim says Kobbie Mainoo and Nkunku with a new 6 would cook. Maybe. You know, we'll have to wait and see. Again, I don't really know what's going to go on in terms of signings, you know. But what I do know is that this manager has to go and this system has to change, because it's an absolute joke, man. Yeah, listen, Bruno's attitude stinks, you know. And you know what makes me laugh as well? Many fans probably won't look at Bruno's attitude, but yet they'll look at Pogba. You know, they'll look at Sancho's attitude. Martial, he's always miserable, they might say. You know, but yet they'll give Bruno a bly for his attitude. His attitude stinks. It's one of the worst in the game. I've never seen a player that complains at his teammates as much as what Bruno does. You know, but people never question his attitude, but yet they'll look at Pogba because he dances. You know, they'll look at Martial because he doesn't smile. Sancho because of his body language. The whole thing's nonsense, man. The whole thing's nonsense. At the end of the day, Bruno's attitude stinks, just like Garnacho's, you know. Both players need to be gone. So Michael Odeli says, you sack this manager and the process starts all over again, and then sack the next no good. So again, you're sounding like an Arsenal fan about the process. How's that worked out for Arsenal? 6 years without a trophy. So I don't want to be hearing this, man. Please. This process crap. At the end of the day, the manager needs to go. And that's all I'm going to entertain for today, you know. Yeah, Ancelotti ain't going to come, though. He's going to Brazil, man. But big up. Big up to Temba Wulana. I'll take Inzaghi as a manager and Filippo as a striker. Yeah, listen, the Inzaghi brothers, man. Pippo and Simone. Inzaghi's not coming to United. I think they tried to get him and he just flat out said no, I think. So that's not happening. United need to sign Kamara from Villa. Yeah, do you know what? Boubacar Kamara does a very good job for Villa. But again, Villa are not going to sell him. And if Villa was to sell him, especially to a Premier League rival, well, I wouldn't say United are rivals, really. You're looking at 60, 70 million, I would say, for him. So Sham working overtime right now due to these trolls. Yeah, listen, Sham. Sham, big up, man. Do your thing. Where there's shame, there's accountability, and where there's accountability. Exactly. Where there's shame, there's accountability, and where there's accountability, there's room for growth. Again, this manager's not really taking accountability or shame. So, yeah, get him gone. So, Makim says, nope, we're keeping Sancho, mate. Listen, for your sake, you should. I'm praying that Chelsea just pay the 5 million so he can go back to United. I'm praying for that because, again, I'm not here for anyone telling me that Sancho shouldn't be at the club. I'm not here for that. Yep. Big up to Hamza Midani. Blood thinks he's Ancelotti. I don't know what you mean by that. Chicken Lover says you need a proper winger like Leon Bailey. I think Leon Bailey's kind of declined a little bit, I think. He's not playing regularly for Villa no more. Would I take Bailey at Man United? No, I'll take other players ahead of him, to be honest with you. So you need a whole new club except for Ahmad. Guys, as I said, the only players that I'm keeping at Man United, if we're being serious, you know, and again, because of, obviously it's never going to happen, but the only players that I'm invested in at Man United, as it stands, is Matthias de Ligt, Lenny Yoro, Mazraoui. I think the likes of Dorgu, Aiden Heaven, Cheeto, they're younger players, so we won't include them. But Mazraoui, de Ligt, Lenny Yoro, Kobbie Mainoo, Amad Diallo, Joshua Zirkzee. So 6 players that are more first-team players are the only players that I'm sticking with. The rest of them, they can go. And and Casemiro as well for his experience. So 7 players. So yeah, De Ligt, Yoro, Mazraoui. Say the younger players, forget them. Kobbie Mainoo, Casemiro, Ahmad, and Zirkzee. So 7 players. They're the only 7 players that I've got any time for that shouldn't be going anywhere. Everyone else can just go. You know what I mean? Yeah, listen, I ain't going into Rasmus. Like, the season's done now. Just get that guy gone. First thing you do when the window opens, get him gone. Bro, why are we talking about the players and manager? We have to seriously talk about the management. Listen, let's stop that crap about the management. We know the management's a problem, but when the management is only the problem when things are bad on the pitch. So when United get beat now, it's the management. But when United beat Bilbao, Lyon, and Real Sociedad, too many fans were just getting carried away, and there was no talk about the management. So I'm not here for that. At the end of the day, the lot of the players are not good enough. Should this team be 16th in the league? No. Should this team have won the cup yesterday? Yes. Has this manager done a bad job? Yes. End of story. Bruno going to Saudi Arabia. Listen, I hope so. I hope so. Saudi, if you're watching, just come in with the bid, man. Please. Please come in with the bid. Get this guy at the club, man. So, Ariel times Ariel. And Ariel, I hope you're still in the chat. Yeah? Fans like this guy are clueless. If they sack RA, who do they replace him with? So he will still be keeping all of these players then. Again, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. And listen carefully. I don't know what planet you're on, first and foremost, yeah. But this if they sack RA, Amorim, who do they replace him with? So what is your answer? You know, if things keep going wrong, what's your answer to just keep the same thing happening? Is that your answer? Because whether you like it or not, the club are not going to get rid of every single player and get the manager a whole new team. The manager's one person. And when the manager's failing like he is, you get rid of the manager. Yes, some of these players are not good enough, but you're saying about keeping all these players. Again, there's more players than the manager, unfortunately for yourself. So I'm not here for all this, who do you replace him with? I've come up with the names already. If you think Amorim's the guy to keep in place, I don't know what to say for you. But the reality is, they're not gonna get rid of every single player for the manager and get him a whole new team. That's not gonna happen. So I don't know who's telling you this rubbish, but at the end of the day, he needs to go. End of story. Yeah, I'll keep you're on heaven, yeah, of course. Cass as well. Dorgu. So Man United should get the Atalanta. Oh, what, Gasperini? Yeah, I like Gasperini, but I think I'm not sure Gasperini might. I'm not sure how long he's got left in the game, to be fair. But yeah, I watched the game against Leverkusen. Yeah, I don't mind Gasperini. Just and there's options out there. But the first thing is first, get this manager gone. That's it. That is it. Guys, you might win a game next week against the Malaysia League 11. I wouldn't even bet on that, to be honest with you. I am Titanium. I'm not sure where the next one's coming from, to be honest. Thing is, people that are saying United have finished for a good few years, I don't really believe that, because at the end of the day, what is missing is a manager that wants to play to the strength of the players. Yeah, a manager that wants to play first and foremost the footballers. A manager first and foremost that wants to play a thriving system, that wants to go on the front foot and score goals. Everything this manager is doing wrong. So Man United are only finished for as long as they let it be. You know, because they go and if they sack this manager, get rid of a lot of these players that are not good enough, and get a manager that wants to play the right way and play the best footballers, they won't be finished for long. They won't. But at the moment, you know, they're not doing anything possible to make this happen. So it's just frustrating, you know. Yeah, listen, Marcel Laporte. I don't like, for me, honestly, even though Tottenham have won the trophy, Postecoglou's performances in the league have been poor. But I think it's a bit different for Ange, because Tottenham have gone, almost 20 years without a trophy. And the fact that Postecoglou has done that, his league season might be put to the side now. Man United, they couldn't afford to do that, because United win trophies regardless of the managers. But the fact that Tottenham haven't won one in so long, and then Postecoglou wins one, their league season now is irrelevant now, because they're in the Champions League, and then next season they can build and give Ange money to spend and get better players in as well. So his one's a bit different now. So if he would have lost that game yesterday, there would be no choice but him to go. But the fact that he's won, you know, it might give him a lifeline now, or might give the board something to back him now with. So he's a bit different, really. Big up Lumi Rain says, hey man, sorry about last night. I think this will be a good thing in the hindsight. The only way to protect your club is £1 billion summer transfer spend. Yeah, we're not spending £1 billion, unfortunately, Lumi Rain. But I know what you mean in hindsight, because again, it lets Man United know that a lot of these players just need to go, and the manager as well. So if we're looking at small wins, I think the manager going, getting rid of some of these players as well will go a long way. But yeah, as a whole, it's not good enough. Nowhere near good enough. Yeah, Man United do need to spend their way out of trouble. But this is why Ineos are there, because the likes of Jason Wilcox will be identifying players to bring into the club. And as I said, I don't know what's going to go on now. So I'll be watching closely to see what happens with these players that need to go and the manager. So we'll have to wait and see. But big up yourself, Lumi, for coming on. Big up Longlet Moria. Big up, brother. I like your honesty. Listen, pure honesty, man. I'm not going to cut any corners, you know. Yeah, big up yourself. Yeah, big up to Irish Green. Yeah, look at football teams win for 10 years, then don't win things. That's football. Yeah, big up, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they sacked Postecoglou. It's what he does. Yeah, listen, if he gets sacked, he gets a payout and leaves with a trophy. So he's laughing, really, you know. I just think that they might give him one more season because of the trophy win and back him regardless. I think the league season now for Tottenham is irrelevant now because he's won the trophy and they're in the Champions League, more money. So I think they might they might not be bothered with that, really. So I think he's gonna at least survive now. And but if he does go, listen, he can go with his head held high, because he did say, you know, he wins a trophy in his second season, and look at what he's proved. You know, you can't help but respect him, because he's put his money where his mouth is, really. Let's be honest. Big up Savvy Boy says, bro, who do you support? Listen, I think by the rage that I've been going on today, man, I think it's a bit obvious. Yeah, listen, Levy sacked Jose for a cup final, but I think he sacked Jose because of the toxic nature that Jose was probably having around the club. That's the only thing I can believe. Sacking him before a final was a joke, to be honest with you, because one thing that Mourinho does is win finals, but that was Levy's decision. But he's been vindicated, really, because you know, he's got Postecoglou now has won a trophy, so you can't really blame him in that sense, you know. So yeah, but guys, listen up. Big up to each and every one of you, you know, for contributing. We've got 19 likes, guys, in there. And again, let's try and hit that target of 20. You know, just one press of the button. So if you have enjoyed today's stream, been going for, what, an hour and a half, you know. If you have enjoyed today's stream, make sure you smash that like button. And again, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Guys, a very passionate one today, you know, because I could see this happening. And it's been frustrating watching this team over the whole season. And it's unacceptable, you know. So, but yeah, big up everyone for coming through, man. As I said, some good questions in the chat. Even those of you that come up with your chat as well that I didn't really agree with, you know. But again, it's what it's about. It's about dialogue. But I just can't understand anyone that thinks this manager should stay in post. And as I said, Ineos have a decision to make now, and that is to sack this manager. No excuse. But guys, as I said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do at GavGoesIn. Got some good content on there. Big up to all the mods. Big up to Sham, Reluctant Killer, DXR, Barbara Joseph, Dayela Iacona as well. And big up to I Am Titanium for coming through again as well. But yeah, guys, if you did enjoy the stream, as I said, smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel. Guys, I'm going to be back literally in about an hour and a half. Well, about an hour's time, about 3:30. So I'm doing a new stream. It's only like 10 minutes long at most. So I'm doing a new Next Gen 50. So the best young players in the world. So today's going to be on Giovanni Quenda. Just going to have a little discussion about him. So I'll be back at, I think it's scheduled for 3:30 or 3 o'clock. So yeah, if you guys are still around, make sure you come back in and we'll discuss Giovanni Quenda. And as I said, big up to Lumi Rain as well. Big up each and every time. Big up to Sham as well, 100%. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves for coming through. And as I said, if you guys are free, come back at 3:30 and join me again, talking about Giovanni Quenda. And again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Smash that like button. And as I said, Ineos, you've got one job to do, and that is to sack this manager. Guys, big up yourselves, and I'll catch you in a bit.